2 heartbeats. That's all that separated life from death beneath the frozen earth. While the world above moved on, oblivious and uncaring, 2 officers lay trapped in absolute darkness. Their lungs burned. Their bodies went numb. No one was searching. No one knew, and with every passing second, hope slipped further away like sand through frozen fingers. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. Plans that involved a child who refused to turn back, and a dog that sensed what human eyes could never see. The wilderness outside town had always demanded respect, especially when winter arrived with its bitter grip. This wasn't the friendly snow of holiday cards or cheerful sledding hills. This was the kind of cold that turned breath to ice midair, that made trees crack like gunshots in the night, that could steal consciousness from a grown adult in less time than it took to realize the danger. The forest stretched 4 miles, dense with towering pines whose branches sagged under the weight of endless white. Visibility dropped to almost nothing when the wind picked up. Even the animals had learned to stay hidden earlier that day. Officers Daniel Harper and Lisa Moreno had rolled out on what should have been unremarkable. A report had come in about an abandoned vehicle near one of the old logging roads, the kind that hadn't been properly maintained in years. Probably just someone who'd gotten stuck and walked out for help. It happened more than people wanted to admit. Could be nothing, Daniel had said, adjusting his radio as they drove deeper into the whiteness. Could be someone who needs a tow truck and a lecture about winter driving. Lisa had nodded, watching the trees close in around them. Her instincts were usually sharp, honed by years of patrol work in conditions that didn't forgive mistakes. Something about the silence felt off, but she couldn't put her finger on why. Their last radio check-in had been routine, standard procedure. Nothing in their voices suggested alarm. Then the signal cut out completely. At first, dispatch didn't panic. Communication dead zones were frustratingly common out there. Mountains, valleys, dense tree cover. It all played havoc with equipment. They'd probably drive back into range within the hour. But when that hour passed, then too, the mood shifted. Attempts to reach them went unanswered. Their GPS coordinates froze on the screen, unmoving, surrounded by nothing but wilderness. By the time someone made the call to send a search team, the weather had turned savage. Snow came down in blinding sheets, erasing tire tracks almost instantly. The wind howled like something alive and angry. Helicopters couldn't fly. Ground vehicles struggled to get within 2 miles of the last known location. Nature had slammed the doors shut, and whatever was happening out there would have to wait. What no one understood yet was that Daniel and Lisa weren't waiting for rescue. They were buried, completely covered, trapped beneath layers of packed snow in a nightmare neither had trained for. Their hands were bound. Tape sealed their mouths. Every breath came shallow and difficult. Cold seeped into bone, stealing warmth degree by degree. They could hear nothing but their own muffled heartbeats and the terrible, suffocating silence of the earth pressing down. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt eternal. Panic would have killed them faster than the cold, so they fought it, clinging to discipline, to training, to the fragile hope that someone, somehow, would realize what had happened. Above them, the forest remained perfectly undisturbed. No footprints, no signs of struggle, just snow falling on snow, hiding everything. Emily had been told repeatedly not to wander far. Everyone in town knew the rules once the temperature dropped and the snow piled up. The forest wasn't a playground. It was dangerous, unpredictable, and unforgiving. But Emily was 9 years old, and being stuck inside all day made her feel like the walls were closing in. Her father worked long hours. Her mother had left 2 years ago and never came back. The house felt too quiet, too empty, too full of things nobody talked about. The only one who truly understood her need to escape, to breathe, to feel safe outside those walls, walked beside her now. Rex wasn't just any dog. He was a German shepherd, trained for police work, disciplined and intelligent in ways that seemed almost human. His dark coat gleamed even in the gray light, his ears constantly swiveling, taking in every sound the forest offered. He had been assigned to Emily's father years ago, and when off duty, he stayed with them. Emily had grown up with Rex. She trusted him more than most people. He didn't yell. He didn't leave. He didn't make promises he couldn't keep. They'd started walking near the tree line, just close enough to feel the freedom of open space. Emily kicked at the snow while Rex moved with calm confidence, scanning their surroundings the way he always did. For a while, it was peaceful. Quiet, in a good way. Then Rex stopped. Not gradually, but instantly, like he'd hit an invisible wall. Emily noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" Rex didn't respond. His entire body had gone rigid, his ears locked forward, tail stiff, eyes fixed on something ahead that Emily couldn't see. She felt her stomach tighten. Rex only looked like that when something was very, very wrong. "Rex." Her voice came out smaller than she intended. He took a deliberate step forward, then another, moving with purpose now. Not playful, not curious. Focused. Emily swallowed hard. Every instinct told her to turn around, head back home, tell her father something felt off. But she trusted Rex. If he sensed something, it mattered. So she followed. With each step deeper into the forest, the air seemed to grow heavier. The trees felt closer, the silence more oppressive. Emily pulled her coat tighter, glancing around nervously. Nothing looked different, just snow and pines and the same endless white stretching in every direction. Then Rex froze again. This time, he dropped his nose to the ground and began sniffing with frantic intensity. His breathing quickened. His movements became urgent, almost desperate. Then he started digging. Snow flew in every direction as his powerful paws tore into the ground. He wasn't playing. This wasn't some buried stick or animal scent. This was something else. "Rex, stop!" Emily cried, panic rising in her chest. "What are you doing?" But Rex didn't stop. It dug faster, harder, whining low in his throat, a sound Emily had never heard from him before. It was distress. It was urgency. It was a warning. Emily dropped to her knees beside him, trying to see what he was uncovering. At first, it looked like nothing. Just more snow, compacted and uneven. Then she felt it. A vibration, faint, almost imperceptible, coming from beneath the surface. Not wind, not shifting ground. Something alive. Her breath caught. She pressed her ear closer, holding. Completely still. Tap. Tap. The sound was weak, muffled, but unmistakable. Someone was down there. Someone was trapped. Emily's scream tore through the forests, raw and terrified. She scrambled backward, slipping in the snow, her heart hammering so hard it hurt. Rex barked wildly, circling, then returned to the spot and dug even more frantically. His paws moved with desperate precision, carving deeper into the frozen earth. Emily forced herself to move. She grabbed the small emergency shovel strapped to her backpack and started helping, scooping snow away with trembling hands. Each layer revealed more compacted ice, packed unnaturally tight. "Hold on," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Please, just hold on." Rex's paw struck something solid. He froze, then carefully brushed away more snow with gentler movements. Fabric appeared. Dark blue. Stiff with frost. Emily gasped as more was revealed. A shoulder, an arm, then a face. A man's face, pale as death, lips tinged blue, eyes closed. Silver tape covered his mouth. Emily screamed again. Louder this time. The sound swallowed immediately by the trees. Rex barked urgently, nudging the man's shoulder, whining in distress. The man's chest moved. Barely, but it moved. "Eh?" "Was alive." Emily's hands shook violently as she peeled the tape away from his mouth. The man gasped, sucking in air like he'd been drowning, coughing weakly. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused and glassy. "Help," he rasped. Emily nodded frantically. "I will." "I promise." Then Rex moved suddenly, ears snapping forward, body tensing. He turned and started digging again, just a few feet away. Emily's blood turned to ice. "No," she whispered. "There's another one." Rex dug with renewed desperation, snow flying everywhere. Emily helped clawing at the ground with numb fingers. Then a hand broke through the surface. Shaking. Barely moving. Emily sobbed as they uncovered a second body, a woman. Her skin dangerously pale, lips blue, chest frighteningly still. Rex pressed his body against her, trying to share warmth, whining desperately. Emily looked around wildly. They were miles from help. No signal. No one nearby. The officers were dying. Every second mattered. She made a decision. She stood, legs trembling, heart pounding. "I'm going for help," she said, her voice shaking but firm. Rex barked once, deep and steady. Emily wrapped her scarf around the first officer's neck, draped her gloves over the second. Then she ran. The forest blurred around her as she pushed through knee-deep snow, stumbling, falling, forcing herself back up. Cold air ripped into her lungs. Branches whipped at her face. Her legs screamed in protest, but she didn't stop. Behind her, Rex stayed with the officers, refusing to leave. Emily ran harder than she'd ever run in her life, driven by pure terror and determination. When she finally saw the ranger station through the trees, she screamed with everything she had. "Help. Please, somebody help." The door flew open. A ranger stepped out, eyes widening in shock. "There are officers," Emily gasped, nearly collapsing. "Buried alive. They're dying. Please, hurry." The ranger grabbed his radio, his voice sharp and urgent. Within minutes, chaos erupted. Engines roared to life. Medical teams scrambled. Snowmobiles tore through the forest, headlights cutting through the storm. When they burst into the clearing, Rex was still there, lying beside the officers, refusing to move. Rescuers worked frantically, uncovering both bodies, checking vitals. Daniel was breathing. Barely. Lisa had no pulse. "Start CPR." Someone shouted, hands pressed down on her chest. Oxygen was forced into frozen lungs. Rex circled desperately, whining, nudging Lisa's shoulder as if begging her to wake up. Seconds stretched into agony. "Come on," a medic muttered. "Stay with us." Then Lisa gasped. A shallow, ragged breath, then another. "I've got a pulse." Relief exploded through the clearing. Both officers were stabilized, wrapped in thermal blankets, rushed toward the snowmobiles. Rex finally collapsed, exhausted, as a handler knelt beside him. "You did it, boy," he whispered. "You held on long enough." The truth emerged slowly, pieced together from radio logs and evidence recovered from the forest. Daniel and Lisa hadn't been lost. They'd stumbled onto something they weren't supposed to find. A criminal operation hidden deep in the wilderness. They'd been overpowered, silenced, buried alive to ensure they'd never be found. The suspects had counted on the storm to erase everything. They'd been wrong. Arrests followed quickly. Evidence was recovered. Justice moved forward. But in the hospital, none of that mattered yet. Lisa flatlined twice during transport. Doctors worked frantically, refusing to give up. Emily sat in the hallway, clutching Rex, tears streaming down her face. When the monitors finally stabilized, when both officers were declared out of danger, the relief was overwhelming. Emily was allowed to see them. Daniel smiled weakly when she entered. "You're the kid who didn't give up." He sighed softly. Emily shook her head. "Rex found you." Daniel reached out and rested his hand on the dog's head. "Then you both saved us." The story spread quickly. News vans lined the streets. Reporters spoke in hushed tones about miracles and impossible survival. A small ceremony was held in the hospital courtyard. Rex was given a medal for valor. Emily received a folded flag for bravery. But what mattered most was Daniel and Lisa standing together, weak but alive, because the little girl had listened when it mattered and the dog had refused to give up. Weeks later, the forest looked different. Snow had melted enough to reveal the ground beneath. No longer hiding secrets, Daniel and Lisa returned to the clearing where they'd nearly died, not out of fear, but gratitude. Emily stood with her father, Rex at her side. "We owe you our lives," Lisa said, kneeling in front of Emily. Emily shook her head. Rex knew. I just followed him. Lisa smiled and placed her hand on Rex's head. Then he taught us something important. Sometimes heroes don't announce themselves. They walk quietly beside us, listening when others turn away, refusing to leave when it would be easier to go. Emily learned something she'd carry forever. The smallest voice can make the biggest difference. And sometimes, when everything seems lost, hope arrives on 4 legs and a child's courage. If this story moved you, remember that every day we're given chances to notice fear, to offer safety, to choose kindness. Those choices ripple outward in ways we may never see.